Okay, so what is financial planning? For many people, financial planning is nothing but managing investments. Uh, of course, investment is a part of financial planning, but it's not the only thing in financial planning. So let us look at the various parts which comprise financial planning. So financial planning is basically not only investments, it starts with cash flow. What money you are earning, how much you are spending starts from there. Second part is insurance planning. Then it goes with goal settings. Then investment planning. So investment planning is the fourth part. Then you look at retirement planning, tax planning, and finally, we need to also plan how we are going to leave behind our legacy, which is making a will, etc. So these are the 7 steps, and we'll be covering each of them. For many, cash flow planning is like we get our income and we start spending. Usually those who are salaried get their salaries on the 30th or the 1st of the month, and we start spending. If at all there is a surplus, then that becomes a saving. Otherwise, it's very difficult for us to save many a times. But if we follow this method, then we'll not be able to save. Income is coming, we are spending, and we are hoping that there will be some money left towards the end of the month. This is not the right way to save. Ideally, once you know what your expenses are, once you get to know how much money you can save, the best thing would be to remove this saving immediately the moment your income comes in. For example, if your income is 50,000 a month and your expenses are going to be 30,000, plan your investments or savings in such a manner that that money gets debited from your account within a few days of the money coming in your account. So what you're doing ideally is your income is coming in, investments are happening, whatever remains that you are spending. So this will also give you discipline. For those who are not yet working, I have some students also have joined here today. Just to give them a simple cash flow, you have income on your left hand side or expenses on the right hand side. Okay, but just to make it simpler for the others who have joined in and who've been managing a budget, let me show you a budget sheet. You see the budget sheet? Okay, so in the budget sheet, if you see, all those who want this budget sheet, this is a 12-month budget sheet, just post your email addresses on your chat. We will send this to you post the seminar gets over. So here what we have done, we have tried to cover all aspects, your groceries, your EMIs, your travel, grocery bill is there, home loan EMI, car loan, travel cost, maid, flat maintenance, insurance premium, electricity, whichever day you're paying, 1st or the 4th of the month or 7th of the month, it gets added here. And there's a total at the end. Towards the end, you come to know whether towards the end of the year, you can get an idea of how much the total yearly expenses were. Monthly basis, you come to know on a monthly basis, food and grocery, how much you're spending. Home loan, how much is your expense. Now, this is a very critical part. Without you knowing how much you are spending, without you knowing how much you are saving, you cannot make any headway in your life, in a financial life. Okay, so this was just one part of the budgeting which I thought let me share with you, and those who are interested, we will share this, we'll email this to you post the webinar getting over. So cash flow planning is the most important aspect of financial planning. Okay, first tip to all of you, if you are saving 25% of your income, if you're saving 25% of your income, and which I saw in the poll, I think about 20-30% of them were saving 25% of their income and more. This you are moving towards the right direction, and which means you're creating surpluses which will be invested further. Second step that you need to do is create an emergency fund. During the last 1.5 years, I think emergency fund has more than the need for an emergency fund has been more than emphasized. People have lost jobs. There have been medical cases where mediclaim was not there for the parents. There have been cases where your electrical equipment goes away. I mean, it doesn't work and you have to replace it. So for all these things, you need to keep some kind of a emergency fund separately. Don't keep the same money in the same bank account, because there is more chance that you'll be spending that money. So what do you do for an emergency fund? An emergency fund typically is about between 3 to 6 months of your expense. If you just started working, a 3 months of emergency fund is good enough. If you've started a family, you have kids, etc., 6 months is a minimum emergency fund you need to keep. If your expense is 50,000, they need to keep at least 3 lakh rupees for a family for emergency fund. And if you are in business, you need to keep at least 1 year of emergency fund. Now, where do you maintain this emergency fund? Should you invest in shares? Should you invest somewhere else? No. Purpose of emergency fund is to get the money instantly. Emergencies don't inform us in advance. So where do you keep this money? There are various options. Many banks offer sweep-in facility. For example, if you have 10,000 rupees in your bank account, anything over there goes into a separate sweep-in FD, which is a very good option for you to maintain an emergency, because you're almost getting FD rates there and you can break it anytime. For those who are starting to build their emergency fund, they can start with a recurring deposit. A recurring deposit is something where you tell your bank, please start saving 5,000 rupees for me for 1 year. So in 1 year time, I would have invested 50,000, 60,000, and whatever interest I get, that becomes my emergency fund. Those who are not familiar with mutual funds, there is a product called liquid funds. Liquid funds are funds which can be liquidated in 24 hours. And nowadays, there are some mutual funds which also give you an ATM card for liquid funds. So you can withdraw using the ATM card also from liquid funds. So liquid fund typically between 3.5% to 4% is what you get. Best part of liquid fund is you can redeem anytime. Then you also have short-term debt funds. For example, if you have a bigger amount, you have old parents at home and you want to maintain a big amount, let's say 5 lakhs or 10 lakhs for emergency, then 5 lakh can be divided between your a separate saving account in liquid fund, and the balance 5 lakh can be maintained in a short-term debt fund. A short-term debt fund ideally is for a 6 month to 1 year duration, which can give you about 5% in the current scenario because interest rates have gone down. The most important purpose for an emergency fund, please remember, is not to earn returns. The purpose is to access this money to, you should access this money when you need this money. So returns is not so important, and safety is also very important here. Okay. So your second tip for today evening is maintain minimum 6 months of your monthly expense in liquid form. Either you could keep in a separate bank account or a liquid fund or a fixed deposit, which is breakable any moment. Let's move to the third part, which is insurance. I've seen many people want to invest first. When they start earning, they want to invest first. But before investing, you need to ask a question to yourself. If your family is dependent on your income, you just started working or somebody just started working 1 or 2 years back, you have some amount of saving that you have. Would that saving be adequate for your family in case you're not there tomorrow? So you need to first start with insuring yourself adequately. Start with a life insurance cover, take a health insurance cover, and also add an accident cover, because if you're traveling, then accident cover is also very important. Okay. Now, let me make it a little simpler to you. Purpose of life insurance. See, everybody, like, there is a price tag to everything that has got value. You want to buy a car, you want to buy a house, every asset or every product has got a value. But how do you value your own self? Okay, so there are some indicators of how you can value your own self. One of the indicator is your own income. So if you're earning 5 lakh rupees income per year, and if you have 20 years to survive, I mean to retire, you're 40 and you're going to retire at 60, then income multiplied by 20 years, it becomes 1 crore. So 1 crore can be a starting point for you. Let's look at a simple calculation and just find out what is the kind of life insurance cover one should buy. Now we are considering an expense-based method. Expense-based method means if I'm not there, my family will require an X amount of money every month to continue with the same lifestyle. So assuming that I have a home loan, I have a car loan worth 33 lakhs. Okay. So I have a car loan. This is my home car loan, sorry. And home loan, which is 33 lakhs. My income is 7 lakhs. My expense is 7 lakhs per a year. And I'm planning for say 20 years. So approximately 1.4 crore is only the expense. And if something happens to me today, loan is something which I have to pay immediately. So 1.4 crore plus 33 lakhs becomes 173. Now, I want my kids to go abroad for education, their marriage, or it could be something else. You may want to start a business that could cost around say 60 lakhs. So add it together, 2 crore 33 lakhs. Now, what do you minus? You minus your current insurance cover. So I'm having 50 lakh. I remove 50 lakhs from there and I have investments of 70 lakhs. So 70 plus 50 is what I have. And if I die, my family gets 50 lakhs from insurance. My family gets investments of 70 lakhs. So I remove this 1.2 crore from here. What remains is 1.13 crore. Or to make it very simple, at least look at what your expenditure is, multiply by 20 times. Okay. Or if you have income of 5 lakhs, multiply by 10 times. So you could either use an income method or an expense method. In short, take a good insurance cover. Now, there are many types of insurance plans available in the market. They come with very different names. So many times people get confused. What should I buy? What insurance is better for me? There is an endowment policy, which typically these type of policies invest in bonds. They don't invest in shares or any other high return product. Then you have a money back plan, which gives you money every 5 years. A part of your insurance they give you every 5 years. Then you have a whole life insurance, which continues till 100 years. And you may be aware of unit linked insurance plans, which invest your money in shares or bonds as per your choice. And you also have a term insurance. The term insurance is nothing but a simple insurance which only covers your life, and there is no saving here. In case I die tomorrow, my family gets insurance value. If I survive, they don't get anything in term insurance. Okay. But then why should I take term insurance? Why shouldn't I take these policies? At least they're giving me some return. Okay, I'll come to that. Why? These are some of the traditional insurance policies which are available. If you look at the returns, basically they are between 4 to 5%. So ideally, when you're looking at a long term, like 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, it makes sense to buy a separate insurance cover through term insurance, which will only cover for your insurance, a small amount of money that you pay. And when you look at 20 years, 25 years, you're better off investing somewhere else where the returns can be higher. So what I would advise you is keep your insurance separate, investment separate. That way, investment will give you better return, insurance will cover your life. Tip 3 for today is take term insurance rather than taking any savings oriented policy. Okay, term insurance will make more sense. Thumb rule will be either 20 times of annual expense or 10 times of annual income. And when you're taking this as a criteria, add loans in that. So if 20 times of annual, 10 times of annual income comes to 1 crore and you have loan of 10 lakhs, add 10 lakhs to that 1 crore because you also need to cover your loans. Just to give an example, somebody of age 30 or 35 years can take a 1 crore insurance cover for as low as 12 to 13,000 rupees, which is just 1,000 rupees a month. So term insurance becomes a very safe and very cheap insurance product for you to cover your liabilities and your family. Okay. After health insurance, let's look at medical insurance. I will not emphasize why you need a medical insurance. We all know why you need. This year has vindicated the need for not only health insurance, but a higher cover, a better cover. Okay. Let me give you some idea of how this health insurance can be increased at a lower cost by adding something called a super top-up policy. Okay. What you need to do is, nowadays you just can't have a small insurance cover of 1 lakh or 2 lakh or 5 lakh. It will not work. Medical costs are increasing. We all know, and most of you would be aware of what has happened in the recent past. So what you need to do is, let us say if you want to just buy 5 lakh insurance because your income is not much or just starting off, 5 lakh buying a health insurance is fine. That will be your first policy. If you are in your 30s and 40s and if your income is better and you take a better cover, or let's talk about taking a 20 lakh insurance. First, you take a 5 lakh insurance from your existing health insurer. Okay, you have 5 lakh rupees cover. Buy a 20 lakh cover from a same company if they're offering a super top-up policy. If they are not offering, find out somebody else who offers a super top-up policy. There are companies who offer a top-up also. There are companies who offer super top-up also. What is the difference? I'll tell you the difference. Let us say, take one scenario. You have a claim of 3 lakhs. Okay. So 3 lakh, 4 lakh gets paid by your existing health insurance company. Let us say you have a claim of 18 lakhs. What do? First, you go to your existing health insurance company and take the 5 lakh rupees cover from them. Balance 13 lakhs that you need, you already have taken a super top-up policy. They will give you the balance 13 lakhs. Okay. Now, what happens when you take a top-up policy? Okay. What happens when you take a top-up policy? A top-up policy will tell you, okay, if you get a 4 lakh claim or a 3 lakh claim, they will tell you first you have to exhaust your full 5 lakh cover only, then we'll pay you. For example, if there are 2 claims in a year, 3 lakh first claim, then 4 lakh second claim. You got 3 lakh rupees from the 5 lakh policy company gave you, balance remained was 2 lakhs. Now you got a second claim of 4 lakhs. You went back to the same company. They will tell you, will 3 lakhs you've taken, now we'll only give you 2 lakhs because that's the only balance. A top-up will not give you anything because top-up will tell you total claim one time should cross 5 lakhs. But a super top-up will tell you, no matter how many claims you have, the total of those claims, all those together has to cross 5 lakhs, then we will pay you. So super top-up becomes a better policy for you to buy. So when you buy health insurance and you want to take a higher insurance cover, take a combination of a Mediclaim along with a super top up. That comes very cheap. Just to give an example, for a 35-year-old family, let me show you a calculation so that becomes a little clear. Okay, I'll come to that. So basically, when you take a 5 lakh insurance policy for a 35-year-old for a family of 2 plus 2 children, the premium comes to approximately 18 to 19,000 rupees. But when you take a 20 lakh top-up policy, telling them that I already have 5 lakhs, anything above 5 lakhs I take from you, the cost of 20 lakhs comes to around 8,000 rupees. So 18,000 plus 8. In 26,000 rupees, your Mediclaim cover goes to 20 lakhs free. Okay. So this can be one way of increasing your health cover by taking a combination of health insurance and super top up. Okay. So tip for you will be, fourth will be that take a combination of top up policy along with Mediclaim. So Mediclaim has to be there. You cannot escape Mediclaim, the basic policy. Take Mediclaim policy and add super top up along with that. So your cost comes down and your cover goes up. Let's go to the fourth part of financial planning, which is financial goals. Now, we know one thing. If we pursue something, if you want to achieve something, we have to focus on that aspect, keep reminding ourselves about that aspect, and that gives us motivation. When we set financial goals, when we, in the initial part of our life, we start setting goals. For example, I want to retire after 10 years. In my mind, I know I want to retire, but have I planned for it? Have I written it down somewhere? Only when I write down somewhere, it becomes a goal. Okay? So I want to retire at age 50 or 55.
Input mode.
I want to plan for my kids' education. My kids are going to, go to college after 8 years, 9 years, 7 years, whatever that period could be. Okay, I want to go on an international vacation after 3 years. I want to start my own business after 5 years. I need 10 lakhs of capital. Unless you write down these things and the value, they will not become goals. They will only become dreams for you and will not be able to achieve them. Okay. So start writing your own goals and give them some value. Assign them a value. For example, kids' education can be one goal. Today's cost is 10 lakhs. And education costs are increasing year after year. Please don't forget to add inflation. And for those who don't know what is inflation, inflation is basically expenses which are increasing in value. Okay. Kids' marriage, if you want to plan for that, passive income, I want to start earning my passive income. Passive income basically means after a period of time towards retirement, I will not be working. So then will I be able to earn 1 lakh per month? Today's value. If I take an inflation today, 7% for expenses, I will require 3,86,000 rupees after 20 years. Have I planned for it? And if I want that, I need to have at least close to 11 crore of corpus. Yes, if you want 3,86,000 per month, you require 11 crore of corpus. Okay. How do I start planning for that? So these are goals. Each goal should be given a time frame. Each goal should be given a value and give a proper inflation figure, and you will get this value. Okay. So there are various calculators available online nowadays where you can actually calculate what are the figures that come up in case you want to consider inflation. Okay. Now let's look at some of these goals where we have decided that we'll invest this money to achieve these goals. All of you are familiar what a recurring deposit is. A recurring deposit is nothing but in a bank, when you want to invest on a regular basis, you go and tell your bank, can you please invest 5,000 rupees each month for 10 years or 7 years? The present interest rate that you get in recurring deposit is 5.5%. Okay. PPF is a 15-year product. Okay, it's a 15-year product. Currently, they're giving you 7.1% guaranteed. Equity mutual funds invest in shares, but they manage a whole portfolio. Over a 10-year period, assuming 11% return is not bad. When you consider for a 20-year period, if you want to achieve 1 crore target in 20 years, okay, a recurring deposit will tell you, please invest 22,900 to achieve this 1 crore. A PPF will tell you, please invest 18,000 rupees. And in the equity mutual fund, because the returns are higher, your requirement will be lesser. Okay. Just imagine putting in a recurring deposit and putting here. Okay. I will also discuss with you which product to select for what period. Right now, I'm just comparing the returns, what they're offering you, but whether recurring deposit is better for you, PPF is better for you, don't look at the returns right now. This is just to give a comparison that if you're looking at a long term, then why put into a small, a low interest rate product? Okay. This also gives you an idea of what is a monthly investment you need to do to reach your goals. So tip number 5 will be, please plan your financial goals so that they give you focus and help create the need to do appropriate investments. Goals need to plan early in life so that you have sufficient time to achieve them. Especially the younger generation who are attending today, for them you have a lot of time which many others don't have.
Equity 28.
Start setting your goals in advance and also consider inflation. Don't forget to add inflation in your goals. What I'm showing you now is one of the most important slide. If you understand this slide, nobody needs to explain you about how to do investments. When you want to invest money, first thing that you need to consider, first thing, when you're investing, is safety. Whether my money is safe, whether I'll get back my money. The reason why many people invest in bank FDs is because they feel, okay, if I put my money somewhere else, I might lose my money. I don't trust other companies. I don't trust mutual funds. I don't trust shares. The value will go up and down. So safety is the first concern. Okay. Second concern is liquidity. Will I get my money when I need instantly? I need my money in 2 days' time. Will I get it immediately? Okay. Third is convenience. How easy it is to invest, how easy it is to withdraw. Okay. And the most important aspect after all these three is returns. What is the return I'm earning? And not just returns. Nowadays, we also look at post-tax, after tax. For example, fixed deposits keep for any amount of period. It is taxed. Mutual fund shares, equity mutual funds, above 1 year up to 1 lakh profit, there's no tax. Okay, so each product has got different tax properties. Now let me ask you a question, or rather let me give you a scenario. You need 1 lakh rupees. Okay, 1 lakh. Okay, after 1 year, and that you want to pay for your son's education fees or college fees, etc., you need 1 lakh after 1 year. When you need it after 1 year, will you look at returns? Will you look at liquidity? Will you look at safety? When I ask most people, when I have the kind of seminars that I've done, most people will say, okay, I am looking at safety because I can't compromise on my son's education. I will have to pay 1 lakh. There are some who say, okay, I'll look at returns. Fine. There is some who say, okay, I look at liquidity also. But if you ask me, because it's 1 year, if I'm in your place, I would look at these two aspects only: safety and liquidity. Return is fine. If I get 1% less, I'm fine, but I will not compromise on safety and liquidity. Okay. Now, if I tell you I need this 1 lakh in 10 years time, I add a zero here. When I add zero here, I know safety is fine. Liquidity is not there. I don't require it now. No, I require for 10 years. Then I can look at returns. So I'm not looking at safety now, because in 10 years, inflation will be so high. Today, if my son's education is costing 1 lakh, after 10 years, it might cost more. So I will not look at low returns. I will not look at safety. I will I will try to take a little bit risk and invest somewhere where the returns will be higher. Now, let me also tell you that you will not get everything in one product. You will say, can we find a fixed deposit which gives me safety, which gives me liquidity and high returns? You can get a fixed deposit which gives you safety. You can get a fixed deposit which gives you liquidity, but you will not get high returns. You can invest in shares which give you liquidity, which may give you high return in the short term, and which may not be safe in the short term, which may be safe in the long term, but not in the short term. So when you look at each investment, you look at property. There are people who invest in property. What happens to property? You have invested in, say, 2021, and in 2022, you want to withdraw the money. Can you sell it? Very difficult. So liquidity is not there in property. Okay. In real estate, liquidity is not there at all. Okay. Safety is there. Okay. The property comes in your name, you register in your name. That is there. Safety is there. But there is no liquidity. There is no assurance of returns also in today's times. Okay. So you look at it, every product that you see will not have all three things. You will have to compromise somewhere. If you want to put in fixed deposits, you have to compromise on returns. If you want to invest in shares, compromise on safety for the time being. If you want to invest in real estate, you have to compromise on liquidity. Okay. So hope this slide is very clear. And if you've understood this slide, my next few slides will be much easier for you to understand. Okay. When you look at the risk and return pyramid, what is happening today? Last 1 year, after the stock market fell in March last year, it rose tremendously, and shares have gone up, mutual funds have gone up. Today, more and more people are asking that they want to invest. Okay, but you need to understand the risk and return pyramid. When you look at very, very safe banks like government-owned banks, probably there is, I can't call it no risk, but there is very, very low risk of your money not, of you not getting your money back. There are fixed deposits offered by private entities like companies and home loan companies, etc., which have little low risk, very low risk. Within mutual funds also there is liquid fund, etc., which is having very low risk. Under mutual fund, you also find that there are funds which invest part of the money in shares, part of the money in bonds. So they will be like hybrid funds. managed funds will have medium risk. Moment you go to equity mutual funds and shares, your risk increases. And moment you start trading and go into derivatives, and nowadays a lot of calls for cryptocurrency. I mean, there is so much of buzz for cryptocurrency today. There is no regulator who regulates cryptocurrency. You don't have a standard which can decide the price of cryptocurrency. So that will come under a very, very, very high risk category. So only invest, first you need to understand what investment falls under what category of risk. And behind, in the previous slide, I have explained you how to evaluate product based on safety, liquidity, and returns. Okay. So this becomes a very good parameter for you to decide how to invest your money. How much % of your money should be in safe, that your goals will decide. But this is one of the aspects that you can look at. Okay. We saw risk and return pyramid. Let's look at mutual funds. In mutual funds, how is the risk and return stacked up in terms of funds? Mutual funds not only offer funds which invest in shares, but they also have funds which invest in liquid funds, debt funds. Okay. So your liquid fund will be like a very, very low risk kind of a category. It is similar to your bank savings account. You can remove your money anytime. Then will come ultra short term. These are slightly long term. Like if you want to keep your money for 3 months, 6 months, up to a year, ultra short term is fine. Then comes low duration. These are various categories in mutual funds. Okay. Up to here, these three don't invest a single rupee in shares. They only invest in bonds, government bonds, private company bonds. Okay. Slightly later comes conservative hybrid funds. Here there is a 15 or 20% amount invested in shares. Okay. Then comes dynamic allocation funds, which invest depending upon the market. They will change the shares ratio here and there. Then will come aggressive hybrid funds, which has got about 75% investment in shares. Then will come your equity funds, which invest 100% in equity. These are 100% equity funds. 100% money goes in shares. Then will come your mid cap, small cap sector funds. So you must have heard of mid cap funds. You must have heard of small cap funds. And what are sector funds? Sector fund is nothing but banking sector. Bank can be one sector. Pharma can be another sector. IT can be another sector. Very high risk because your entire money is in one sector only. Okay. These are slightly lower risk because they put your money across various sectors: banking, IT, pharma, etc. Okay. So as you go up the graph, your risk increases, chances of return also increases. Okay. But then you have to also give some time. Okay. This was just to give you an idea of how the risk and return is stacked up in a mutual fund. Let me show you something on compounding. Okay. Many people have not understood what is compounding. Compounding basically means that if you start investing, you need to give time. You've started investing in 2015 and you start looking at your value in 2018 or 19, 3-4 years. The value will not grow much. But the same amount when you start continuing further, okay, what power that gives you, I'll just show you. Is the audio coming? Anand, is the audio coming?
Yes.
No, I can't hear.
Not on
We
the
can't
video.
hear.
Can't hear? Okay.
No.
Okay.
Start with just one step on the first day and double the steps built every day.
Is it correct?
How long do you think it'll take? 2 years? 20? Let's find out. Within 31 days, you will have covered over 6.5 lakh kilometers and crossed the moon. But what if you stop after 15 days? You will have covered only 10 kilometers. This is the power of compounding. It creates a snowball effect. It does the same to money. Over time, small amounts keep adding up to create a large corpus. The growth accelerates as time goes by and the corpus keeps getting larger. The key to leverage the power of compounding is to stay invested for a longer term. The longer your investment time frame, the more compounding works at an accelerated pace. Leveraging the power of compounding for maximum benefits. Start early. Many young investors keep procrastinating, thinking that they will compensate later in life by investing a larger amount to cover up for the lost time. They lose the opportunity to benefit from the extraordinary power of compounding. Vivek invests 5,000 rupees every month since the age of 25. Siddharth invests 7,000 rupees every month since the age of 35. By the age of 60, both have invested 21 lakh rupees. Assuming a return of 12%, Vivek will get over 3.2 crore rupees and Siddharth will get only over 1.3 crore rupees, which is 59% less. This is why starting early is essential. How does the power of compounding help in creating wealth? The power of compounding, when combined with long-term view of equity investments, have the potential to help you beat inflation and build a substantial corpus. Long-term gains on equities are also tax-free, which makes it much more attractive as compared to.
Okay. So I think it's very clear that compounding doesn't come in, doesn't get kicked in the initial first year, second year, third year. Okay. If you know of Warren Buffett, okay, can you see the slide?
Yes.
Okay. Warren Buffett did not become a billionaire overnight. He had to wait for 20 years of investing to reach there. Okay. So you need to invest regularly and invest for a longer time to benefit from the power of compounding. Okay. Let me also explain you how does taxation work when you're investing in fixed deposit, when you're investing in a debt mutual fund, and when we're investing in a equity mutual fund. Let us say you're investing 50 lakhs in each of these. Okay. Fixed deposit might give you say 5.5 in today's times. A debt fund over a long period could give you between 6.5 to 7%. Equity fund, let's assume on a very lower side that it gives you a 10% return. So fixed deposit will give you 84 lakhs, debt fund will give you 98 lakhs, and equity fund will give you 1.29 crore. Fixed deposit, whatever is the income is 35 lakh. And if you are in the, assuming you have 50 lakh would mean that you are actually in the highest tax slab. You pay tax on the entire gain. So tax amount comes to about 10 lakhs. After tax, 74 lakhs is your maturity amount after tax, which means your return is 4.1%. In debt mutual funds, which invest in corporate bonds, government bonds, etc., there is something known as indexation benefit, which income tax department gives you. You get a benefit of inflation, which means for taxation purpose, they will not say 50 is your investment, they will say 81 lakh is your investment amount, which means your gain is only 16 lakhs. Actually, your gain is more. But for taxation purpose, it shows that 81 lakh is your actual cost of investment, 16 lakh is your gain, but actually you've earned 48 lakh as profit. So you only pay 3 lakh as tax compared to your FD, you pay 10 lakhs tax, here you pay 3 lakh tax. After tax return is 6.63%. In an equity fund over 10-year period, okay, up to 1 lakh there is no tax, 1 lakh of profit. Anything above that, you pay a 10% tax. So you pay a 7 lakh tax because of the gain is very high. The gain was much higher than all the two. You still get a return of 9.31%. Okay. So when you're looking at a longer term, a 10-year period, 15-year period, okay, your debt fund, your fixed deposit will not work. Okay. What will work is an equity fund, because you have to ultimately pay some tax somewhere, but the benefit of return is higher. There is liquidity, and over that period you also are able to beat inflation, which you can't beat in a fixed deposit or a debt fund. Okay. Always remember that if one product is giving you a very high return, don't put all your money there. Okay. Let's look at what are the returns in different years for different assets. In 2011, gold gave 29% return. In 2012, gold gave 12% return. And in 2013, gold gave negative minus 18% negative return. The year in which gold gave 29%, what did real estate do? Real estate also increased average about 17%. Wherever equities were negative. The mutual fund, large cap, mid cap were all negative. Minus 24, minus 34. Okay. What happened the next year? Just look here. 2011 minus 2012, they are plus. Okay. So what I'm trying to tell you is, if you are investing only in one asset class, whether it's gold or mutual funds, or you're investing in bonds, it will not help. You need to create a basket. You need to have a basket of assets. It could be gold, it could be mutual fund, it could be, if you are able to buy real estate as an investment, if you have that much surplus, stocks, bonds, deposits. It's a combination of the entire asset class. Okay. So if you would have invested in 2011 in a various percentages, you would not have had seen such a big loss on your value, because the loss would have got divided. Gold would have made up for the loss in equities. Next year, equities would have made up for the loss in gold or loss in any other investment in 2013. So every asset class behaves differently every year. This year everybody is chasing mutual funds, shares, does not mean that this year again mutual funds and shares will go up. Okay, because if you look at the trend, just see 2018, gold was at 8%, real estate was down, international shares were down by -6, mid caps were -13, high risk shares, small cap were -23. 2019 again was a bad year for mutual funds again. 2020, okay, what has happened? Returns have come back. So there could be 2 bad years, but third year the markets have come back and the average returns have almost improved. Look at here, 2017, look at 2020. When you take an average, it more than covers up for the 10-11% that we're talking about. So return does not come in 1 year. This return comes over a period of time, only when you have diversified enough. Okay. So basically, asset allocation also gives you one more strategy called bucketing strategy. Create 3 different buckets. Whatever you have a short term in nature, okay, could be buying a house, kept some money for buying a house, okay, or it could be paying fees for your son's education, daughter's education within 1 year, within 2 years. Don't look at risk. Look at very, very safe investments. It could be RDs, liquid fund, ultra short term, low duration fund. Don't take risk. Anything which is medium term, between 3 to 8 years. Goal I've just mentioned for representation purpose, it could be any goal. So if it's 3 to 8 years, 3 to 5 years could be in fixed deposit. Anything above 5 years could be in balanced advantage mutual funds. It could be in corporate bond. It could be in hybrid mutual funds. It could be a combination. Okay. Anything that you need 8 year plus, could be retirement, could be anything. Your kids could be small. You might be requiring money after 8-10 years for them. Okay. Then shares, diversified mutual funds, depends on property, again, case to case basis. PPF, your company provident fund. Okay, these can be a better investment assets for you. Okay, for the long term. So the best strategy is create 3 buckets: short term, medium term, long term. Very easy to divide your investments. Long term, you're very clear. I want to take risk because there's long term. I have to take risk. There's no option for me, and I'm investing in shares or mutual funds. 3 to 8 years, I'll have to take medium risk, less risk. So some of the money would be in fixed deposit, bonds. Some could be in balanced mutual funds. And anything to do with less than 3 years, there should not be any way you would want to take a risk. Okay. Let me give you some idea of shares. A lot of queries have come on buying shares. How do we buy? Should we buy? Of course, shares are one of the ways to create wealth. And we have seen a lot of examples. I myself have been an investor. For those who are just were young and just wanting to start investing, just let me take a few seconds just to explain you. You require a PAN card, you require a bank account. Okay, these are the two starting points, and of course an Aadhaar card to open a Demat account and a trading account. You require a Demat and trading account both to start investing in shares and shares. Okay, this is the starting point for you to start investing. If you are a first time investor and you want to invest in shares, don't go with tips. There are a lot of SMSs floating, there are lots of WhatsApp messages coming, invest here, invest there. Don't invest as per that. If you want to invest in shares, let me give you some starting point. You could look at investing in shares which are part of Sensex index or which are part of Nifty index. Now what is Sensex? What is Nifty? Sensex basically is 30 top companies in India. Nifty is top 50 companies in India. Okay. So when you look at these companies, like you will recognize them by the logos. HDFC Bank, Kotak Bank, Infosys, Reliance Industries, Airtel. These are giants, Axis Bank, etc. Okay. These are all giant companies. And these are growing companies. So you could start by buying shares. I'm not saying you just go and buy, but you try and understand how do you evaluate. One way to evaluate is what business they are in. What is the kind of market share that they have in the market? How many years they have been there? What is the kind of dividend that they are giving? Okay, I can refer you some websites that you can look at. You can look at moneycontrol.com. Okay, to start with, just to look at how to evaluate these shares. How do you come to know what dividend they are paying? What has been the share price over the last 10 years? Have they given any bonus shares? Okay. When you buy shares just because of their business and their monopoly, you will not go wrong. Sometimes you have to pay higher price for the shares. For example, let me show you. Okay. In the last 25 years, what has been the average return given by some of the best companies? A company like Infosys has given a return of 30% year on year for 25 years, it has multiplied wealth by 688 times. For example, if you had invested 1 lakh rupees, multiply 1 lakh with 688. Okay, that is the kind of wealth Infosys has created. But it has created a wealth for people who have invested for 25 years longer. They have stayed there. Okay, Pidilite, Eicher Motors, some of these companies. Now, this might make it look very interesting for you to take you know, suddenly go for buying shares. Let me show you something else also. There have been companies also which have destroyed wealth. Okay, where people have lost big time. Reliance Communications, 99% wealth erosion. Unitech, they were a property firm, 99% wealth erosion. Videocon, almost 100% wealth erosion. Reliance Power, 98% wealth erosion. Okay, Jet Airways, 97% wealth erosion. What does this indicate? This indicates that you just cannot buy shares and forget it in today's world. You need to just monitor the companies, how they are doing, how the businesses are doing, because today we are in an ever-changing world. I'm not saying you watch the share price every day. I'm not saying you watch the share price every month. But whenever the results come, every quarterly the results come. Go through the results, whether the results are good, it doesn't take much time. I'm just giving you some indicators. If you want to invest in shares, if you want to spend that much time, create wealth, you need to look at these indicators. Another point I would give you is look at companies which have got very strong businesses. I'll give you a few examples. Look at DMart. DMart's company name is Avenue Supermarts. DMart's current share price is around 3,000 rupees. It is the most expensive valuation wise company which deals with consumer products, which is basically a consumer similar. It's like a marketplace where people go and buy. But look at DMart's results in the last quarter or in the last full year. The results have been extraordinary, which indicates that DMart is still growing. So if a company is growing, if the company is doing well, generating profits year on year, price does not matter. There is a very famous saying by Warren Buffett's partner. There's a guy called Charlie Munger who is Warren Buffett's partner, and he famously said, an extremely good company will still make money for you even if you buy it at an expensive price, but a mediocre company will never make money for you even if you buy at a cheapest price. Okay, I'll give you one more example. There are some companies which have got monopoly in India. For example, Asian Paints, 50% market share in the country. Pidilite Industries, Fevicol brand, Dr. Fixit brand, etc. 40-50% market share. I'm not recommending these companies and telling you go and buy, but I'm just giving an example of how market share, how these companies are some way having monopolistic businesses which are indicating a very steady path for them, at least for the time being. So these are the businesses that you can look at buying, and don't just look at share price, look at the businesses. If you look at businesses and the management, and if you start tracking some of these figures like the share price, the profit ratio, etc., you might not make mistakes which other investors are doing. Okay, this is just to give an example of some of the equity schemes, what returns that they've given in the last 10 years. Don't look at 1 year. I have not given you 1 year returns. 1 year returns will show very, very high because of last year's fall. Focus on long-term return. Only you can create wealth in shares and mutual funds only if you stick with the long term. If you want short-term quick money, you'll have to find some other ways to earn money. Okay. And again, I'm not recommending these schemes. This is just to indicate what is the kind of returns that these schemes have, equity schemes have given in the last 10 years. Okay. Taxation wise, again, mutual funds, there is more benefit in equity funds. There is, if you sell in less than 1 year, 15% tax on gains. If you sell after 1 year, up to 1 lakh profit, there is no tax, otherwise there's 10%. And non-equity, these are debt funds, funds which invest in bonds, corporate bonds, liquid funds. Up to 3 year, less than 3 years, if you sell, whatever profit you earn is added to your income. Above 3 years, you get a inflation benefit, indexation benefit. Okay. Lastly, many of you make investments, many of you don't do the documentation properly, many of you are not maintaining those documents in one proper place. So for you, the suggestion will be that check all your nominations, check your investments, whether the nominee is there, and this is a good time to do that. Check whether you have double holding, whether there are two holders, whether it's either a survivor mode. And the very most critical thing nowadays, which is very important, is please check if your mobile number and email address is updated. Okay, because if you want to change your address online, if you want to update your bank, etc., nowadays they're asking for mobile OTP, and they send your OTP either to your email or mobile number. And if you have a family member who's having investments and is not able to sign, okay, you are a joint holder, then you can use his mobile number to generate OTP, and you can redeem the money in case you want to. You know, if the redemption is becoming too much of an hassle for you, this becomes very important. Okay, write down all your financial details in a diary. Don't depend on online drive or everything. Drive is good. Maintain documents in a drive. You can access, that's fine. But always write down your passwords and other things in a diary so that your family members can access all this information. And in the end, write a will. Will is not difficult. If you need a draft of a will, you can send your email addresses on our chat box. We will send you a draft of a will. Okay. Don't forget to review your investments once in 6 months. Look at your goals, how you are doing, when did you start, how your investments are doing, what was the target of starting savings of 10% or 20%. You wanted to buy health insurance, have you purchased? You wanted to buy life insurance after 3 months, have you done that? How your investments are doing, have you filed the documents properly? So do review your investments regularly. Don't just leave it for later. Okay. Some words of wisdom for you: start investing early in life. There is never a time to start. There is never an age when you say, okay, now I can't invest. Wherever you feel, okay, now I've realized the importance of saving, you can start. But today, those people are watching this, you don't require an excuse not to start. Okay. Compounding interest, I've explained you. This will benefit you only when you invest for the long term. You start smaller, but the value grows bigger with time. Diversify your investments. Don't just put in an investment which is very, very safe to you or which only gives you high returns. Diversify. And markets will keep going up, markets will keep falling. Things like COVID will keep happening. Don't focus on the stock market, what's happening. Focus on your goals. As long as your goals are clear, as long as you're investing for the long term, market movement doesn't matter. Okay. Thank you for your patience listening. Those of you who want to visit our website is proficientplanners.in.